Okay, so let's unpack this. Usually when we talk about a tech revolution, we are picturing something flashy. Self-driving cars,
Right.
virtual reality headsets, maybe a robot that folds your laundry. You
Yeah.
usually aren't picturing the software that calculates your tax withholdings.
Yeah. It is rarely the stuff of blockbusters. Back office, software, HR, finance, payroll is usually the plumbing of the corporate world. It's supposed to be invisible.
Completely invisible.
Yeah, if you notice it, it usually means something has gone terribly, terribly wrong.
Exactly. But here is where it gets really interesting for us today. We are looking at the Q4 2026 earnings report from Workday. This was released on February 24th, 2026.
Mhm.
We've got the call transcript, the press release, the whole package.
And it's a wild ride.
It really is. If you think this is just another quarterly update about, optimizing workflows, marginal efficiency gains, you're in for a massive surprise. Workday, the giant of HR and finance, is declaring a totally new era. They are literally calling it Chapter 4.
That's right. And I mean, this isn't just a marketing slogan to sell more licenses to CIOs. This is a fundamental pivot in how enterprise software works.
Right.
We are moving from software that helps you do the work
Right.
to software that actually does the work.
Which is the mission for this deep dive. We are going to explore how a company known for stability is just betting the farm on agentic AI. We'll get into the dramatic return of their founder CEO, and my personal favorite part, why they believe vibe coding has absolutely no place in your paycheck.
Which honestly is a relief for anyone who likes getting paid the correct amount on Friday.
Seriously, nobody wants a probabilistic paycheck. So for everyone listening, if you want to understand how AI is moving beyond the hype cycle and into the actual lights out automation phase of big business, this is the deep dive for you. Let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
So first things first, there's some drama at the top. We have a CEO shuffle, and it's a big one.
We do. Anil Bhusri, the co-founder, is back in the CEO seat. He's taking over from Carl Eschenbach. Now, if you read the earnings call, it was very polite. Anil thanked Carl profusely for bringing, quote, operational rigor. But the subtext here is just fascinating. Carl was the CEO for Chapter 3.
Right, and they actually laid out these chapters in the report, which I found super helpful just to orient us. So Chapter 1 was the founding back in 2005. That was convincing the world to move HR and finance to the cloud when everyone said it was a crazy security risk.
Total paradigm shift.
Yeah. Then Chapter 2 was the hypergrowth phase, and Chapter 3, that was Carl's era, growing into a Fortune 500 company. It was all about efficiency, scale, just making the trains run on time.
Exactly. Carl did his job. He built a machine. But now we are entering Chapter 4. And Anil Bhusri explicitly said on the call that this is a return to innovation. He called himself an unabashed optimist.
I love that quote.
And he said it's a fun time to be a product person. You can really feel the energy shift.
You really can. But I do have to ask, why now? Why does the founder need to come back for Chapter 4? Usually the operational CEO just stays on to crank the handle and print the money.
Well, because the market is shifting violently under their feet. There is a prevailing narrative out there, you hear it in Silicon Valley constantly right now, that AI is going to replace the ERP entirely.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. The theory is that you won't need these massive, complex systems of record like Workday because a large language model can just figure it out on the fly.
Right, the idea that AI can just wing it and run a multinational company.
Yeah.
Just feed it all your PDFs and say, hey, pay everyone.
Precisely. And Anil is back specifically to rebut that exact narrative.
Hmm.
His argument is that ERP enterprise resource planning is incredibly hard. It requires hardcore security, complex transaction processing, and regulatory compliance across 100 different countries.
You can't just fake that.
No, you cannot simply train a generic AI model to handle that level of nuance accurately. It breaks.
And this brings us to my absolute favorite analogy from the entire earnings call. I never thought I would hear a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar enterprise software company talk about peanut butter and jelly as a strategic framework.
It is a very sticky analogy, if you will.
Ha! I see what you did there. But break it down for us. What is the peanut butter and what is the jelly in the Workday universe?
So in Anil's view, the peanut butter is the deterministic side of the business. These are the core processes: payroll, tax filings, financial closing,
The boring stuff.
the essential stuff.
Yeah.
These things have a strict start and an end. They have rigid, uncompromising rules. They must be 100% accurate 100% of the time.
Meaning you can't sort of guess what my salary is based on a vibe.
Exactly. That is deterministic. It is a fact. The jelly, in this analogy, is the AI. It is probabilistic. It reasons, it predicts, it recommends based on patterns. Anil's entire point is that you cannot use Jelly to run a payroll. You cannot have probabilistic outcomes when you are dealing with statutory compliance or the IRS.
Right. He actually said no amount of vibe coding is going to produce an HR or ERP system. I honestly feel like vibe coding is going to be the buzzword of 2026.
It perfectly captures the tension right now.
Yeah.
If you rely solely on AI models, what Garrett Kazmaier, their president of product, calls lawless agents, you have zero guardrails.
Lawless agents. That sounds like a sci-fi movie.
He kind of is. You have software that might hallucinate a compliance violation or invent a financial transaction just because it felt right statistically.
Which is absolutely terrifying stuff if you're a CFO. You do not want creative accounting from your AI.
Absolutely not. So Workday's pitch for Chapter 4 is the marriage of the two. You keep the rock-solid deterministic system of record, the peanut butter, and you layer the reasoning, probabilistic AI, the jelly, on top of it.
So they want to be the context engine.
Yes, the context engine that keeps the AI from going off the rails. It grounds the intelligence in reality.
So it's not AI replacing the software. It's AI built intrinsically into the software to make it smarter, but governed. It's all about trust.
Correct. The bet is that big enterprises will realize they need the peanut butter, the hard rules and data structure, just as much as they want the shiny jelly.
Okay, let's move from the kitchen analogies to the actual tech. Because we are talking about agentic AI. Now, we've covered AI agents before on deep dives, but how is Workday defining this? Because from the source material, it sounds like way more than just a chatbot that tells you how many vacation days you have left.
Oh, it is significantly more. The shift here is from conversational to action-oriented. A chatbot answers a question. An agent performs a task. And the numbers they dropped on this call are just staggering.
Yeah, I saw this.
They processed 1.7 billion AI actions in fiscal year 2026.
1.7 billion. That is a massive scale.
It is. And commercially, it's really working for them. They generated over $100 million in new annual contract value just from these emerging AI products in Q4 alone.
Wow.
And that specific segment is growing 100% year over year.
So what are these agents actually doing in the real world? Because they mentioned a few specific ones in the report that stood out to me.
They did. One of the big headlines is Sana. Workday acquired an AI company called Sana, and they have integrated it incredibly fast. We're talking 3 months.
Which is speed of light for a legacy enterprise company. Usually acquisitions take years to actually show up in the product.
Totally. And they split it into 2 offerings. There is Sana Core, which is the conversational AI baked right inside Workday, but then there is Sana Enterprise.
And Sana Enterprise is the one that searches across everything, right? Not just Workday data.
Correct. And that is a total game changer for the user experience. It connects out to Outlook, Google Drive, Slack, Microsoft Teams. So you can ask Workday a complex question, and it can pull context from a contract in your email, a policy document in Google Drive, and the actual employee data in Workday to give you a complete answer or even perform a task.
That feels like the holy grail of enterprise search, just being able to find the document without opening 12 different browser tabs. But they also talked about specific job roles being automated, like the self-service agent.
Yes, this is where the ROI, the return on investment, becomes very real for these companies. Early access customers using the self-service agent reduce their HR case volume by 25%.
Wait, pause on that for a second. 25% fewer HR tickets overall?
Yes. Think about what that means for a large company. That is a quarter of all emails asking, how do I change my benefits, or where is my W-2? Just gone. The software handles it end-to-end. It interprets the user's request, checks the corporate policy, executes the change in the system, and confirms it back to the employee.
That frees up the actual HR team to do, well, actual human relations work.
Exactly. Strategic work.
Yeah.
And then there is the payroll agent, which automatically spots anomalies and automates compliance corrections before payroll even runs. But the one that really caught my attention on the call was the concept of lights out finance.
Lights out finance, that sounds ominous, but I know in the tech world it's a good thing.
It is the ultimate goal. Lights out finance means fully automating the financial close process. Usually, closing the books at the end of a quarter is an absolute nightmare. It's armies of humans checking spreadsheets, verifying transactions, and stressing out to hit a deadline.
Yeah, I have friends in accounting who basically just disappear for 2 weeks every quarter. You literally cannot reach them.
Right. Workday wants to turn that entire process into a compliance autopilot. The AI checks every single transaction in real time against contracts and global regulations as they happen. So by the time you actually get to the end of the quarter, the work is already done.
The books are just closed?
Exactly. It's not just helping the accountant do the math. It is doing the accounting itself.
That is wild. And it seems like they are eating their own dog food here, too. They mentioned their own internal engineering output on the call.
They are leaning in hard. Garrett Kazmaier noted that 50% of Workday's newly committed code is now AI-generated.
Half their code.
Yes. And their overall engineering output, which they measure by code updates and feature velocity, is up 22%. So they are actively using AI to build their AI products faster.
Which explains how they managed to integrate Sana in just 3 months. They're totally accelerating their own corporate metabolism.
Precisely. Speed is becoming the new currency for Chapter 4.
Okay, so the tech is incredibly cool. The vision is bold. But we really have to look at the business reality, because this is an earnings deep dive after all. How do the actual numbers look?
The numbers are solid, but there's a really important nuance. Q4 revenue came in at $2.53 billion. That's up 15%. Subscription revenue specifically was $2.36 billion, up 16%. And they beat their earnings per share expectations by 15 cents. So on paper, looking backwards, a very strong quarter.
But I hear a very big but coming.
The but is the guidance for next year. For fiscal year 27, they are projecting 12 to 13% growth, and the market analysts immediately called this conservative. The stock actually wobbled a bit after hours because Wall Street wants to see that AI translate into massive immediate revenue growth right this second.
And why isn't it? I mean, if AI is exploding and they have these amazing agents doing 25% of HR's job, why is the growth forecast just steady instead of parabolic?
There are a few key reasons. First, they're prioritizing heavy investment. They're spending money to build these agents and build out Sana rather than maximizing their profit margins right this second. Anil was very clear on the call. They are intentionally trading short-term margin expansion for long-term platform dominance. They are in build mode.
That makes sense. You build the moat now, harvest the profits later when nobody can catch you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Second, there's some real macroeconomic headwinds out there. They mentioned deal elongation several times. Big contracts, especially in the federal government, state and local government, and healthcare, are just taking longer to sign. The classic checking with the boss's boss delay.
Yeah. And honestly, some of that is due to AI confusion in the market. CIOs are hesitant to sign massive 5-year ERP deals when the underlying technology feels like it's changing every single week. Plus, there was a specific blip in the numbers with something called the DIA contract.
The Defense Intelligence Agency.
Yes. It was a massive one-time historical deal that really boosted their Q4 numbers significantly. But that kind of deal won't happen again in Q1, so the year-over-year comparison is going to look tough. It creates a very lumpy revenue picture for the analysts to digest.
Got it. So Q4 looked a little extra good because of a massive one-off, making the upcoming quarter look a little tougher by comparison.
Right.
But there was another shift happening here that I think is absolutely crucial for the listener to grasp. It's about how Workday actually charges for this stuff. They spent a lot of time talking about flex credits. This is a fundamental business model shift for the entire software industry, really. Historically, companies like Workday sell seats. You pay a subscription fee for every human user who logs into the system. But in the agentic world, who is actually doing the work?
The software? The agents are doing the work?
Right. And AI agents don't need a seat license. They don't have a login. So if Workday is wildly successful in reducing the need for humans to log in, their old revenue model completely breaks. They would essentially be automating away their own profits.
Oh, wow. I hadn't thought of it like that.
So Workday is moving toward a consumption model. This is very similar to AWS or other cloud hyperscalers. You pay for API calls. You pay for the actual work the agent performs, measured in compute or value, via these flex credits.
That is fascinating. So if I have an AI agent that runs my entire corporate payroll overnight while I'm sleeping, I pay for the consumption of that computing power and intelligence, not for a payroll manager seat license?
Exactly. And this brilliantly ensures that as AI reduces the need for human logins, Workday still gets paid. In fact, they might get paid significantly more because the sheer volume of automated machine-to-machine transactions will skyrocket compared to human clicking.
And this leads perfectly into the competitive landscape. Because Anil, again, our unabashed optimist, got a little spicy when he was talking about competitors. He actually used the word parasites.
He did not mince words at all. He referred to certain vendors, and he didn't name names. But we can easily guess he means the massive layer of thin AI startups popping up, who try to build AI tools that sit on top of Workday. They want to extract the rich enterprise data to give you insights, basically treating Workday like a dumb database sitting in the basement.
And he called them parasites because they're getting a free ride on Workday's incredibly hard work. The system of record, the peanut butter.
Yes, exactly. Maintaining global tax compliance across jurisdictions is brutally expensive and hard. Building a sleek conversational chatbot on top of that hard-won data is relatively easy. And the flex credit system we just talked about is the defense mechanism against that. It is the moat.
How so?
Anil's message to the market was clear. If you want to build a third-party agent that uses Workday data, you are going to pay us for the access via flex credits.
So if I'm a third-party developer, right, and I build a really cool HR chatbot for Slack that needs to know a user's salary or vacation balance from Workday, every single time my bot pings Workday for that number,
They get paid.
they get paid.
Ching, Workday gets paid every time. This is their core strategy to monetize the entire AI ecosystem. Whether you use a native Workday agent or you build a custom agent or you use a competitor's agent, if the underlying data lives in Workday, Workday gets a cut of the action.
That is incredibly smart. It shifts them from being just an application to being the underlying platform. It's like building a toll road. You can drive whatever fancy AI car you want, but you have to pay the toll to use their highway.
That's a great way to put it. And it protects them from being disintermediated by newer startups. If the real enterprise value is in the data and the strict rules, the peanut butter, they are going to charge anyone who wants to spread some probabilistic jelly on top of it.
Huh. I'm never going to look at a sandwich the same way again. Now, before we wrap up this analysis, they also spent some time mentioning global expansion, right? Because this isn't just a U.S.-centric story.
No, not at all. The president of the company highlighted this heavily. They are seeing very strong growth in international markets. Japan, Germany, the UK were specifically called out. And interestingly, they are leaning heavily on partner networks to achieve this.
Partner networks, like consulting firms.
Yeah. About 25% of their net new annual contract value came indirectly through partners.
Why is that significant for the listener to know?
Because it is absolutely crucial for scaling out Chapter 4. You physically cannot hire enough direct sales reps to cover the entire globe fast enough. You need an ecosystem of global consultants, integrators, and resellers pushing your product. It shows that Workday is maturing as a true global platform, not just a Silicon Valley direct sales application shop.
Got it. So, just summarizing Chapter 4 for everyone listening, the founder is back in charge, vibe coding is officially out, peanut butter is in. They are actively building AI agents that don't just chat, but actually do the heavy lifting, booking time off, fixing payroll anomalies, closing the financial books automatically.
Yeah.
And critically, they are fundamentally changing their pricing model to consumption, so they make sure they get paid for every single robot action on their platform.
That is the perfect concise version. They are betting their entire future that the market won't just want AI, but governed AI. They fundamentally believe that massive enterprises will eventually realize that a very smart, very fast chatbot is entirely useless if it creates legal liability or messes up statutory compliance. They are banking on trust being the ultimate, unbeatable currency in the AI age.
Which brings us to the big question, the so what for you, the listener.
If we pull back and look at the bigger picture here, Workday is loudly signaling the end of the Copilot era and the beginning of the true agent era. A Copilot sits next to you on the screen and helps you draft an email or a formula. An agent takes the task completely away from you and just does it.
Which sounds absolutely great. I mean, I would love to get rid of expense reports entirely, but it also feels a little, I don't know, existential.
It does. And here's the provocative thought I'd leave you with today. We mentioned that early customers reduced their HR cases by 25%. We talked about lights out finance, where the corporate books literally close themselves. Workday is effectively turning human labor costs into automated software costs.
Right. You aren't paying a junior accountant's salary. You are paying a flex credit subscription to Workday.
So if we are rapidly moving toward a world where the software handles the routine transactions, the regulatory compliance, the basic employee questions, and the data corrections, what exactly happens to the human capital management?
Oof. That is the million-dollar question.
In Chapter 5, whenever that era arrives, the role of an HR or finance professional might not be doing the work at all. It might not even be managing the people doing the work.
What is it then?
It might strictly be managing the software that does the work, setting the rules for the agents. And that requires a completely different skill set. You stop being a worker in the system, and you have to become an architect of the system.
That is a lot to chew on. From peanut butter and jelly analogies to the potential end of the traditional accounting department as we know it.
Evolution in the enterprise is rarely comfortable, but it is always interesting to watch unfold.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for diving deep with us today. This Workday earnings report was clearly way more than just financial numbers. It's a very real roadmap for the next few years of how enterprise work is actually going to get done.
Always a pleasure to help connect the dots on these things.
Keep learning, everyone. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.